Welcome to Base Watches, your ultimate source for horological elegance. In this video, we delve into the world of Swiss precision and style, presenting the best Longines watches for 2023. Join us as we explore the heritage, craftsmanship, and timeless design that define these exceptional timepieces. Additional product details can be found at the links I've provided below. So, without further ado, let's get started. A complicated-looking, classically designed timepiece is a welcome addition to any watch collection, and something like this Longines Master Collection Moon Phase Chronograph is a solid and affordable way to include such an item into your collection. It contains the Swiss-made ETA Valjoux 7751, which is modified to become the Longines Caliber L687. My first ever complicated watch included a Valjoux 7751, and I think it is a very effective way to enjoy a good volume of complications without crossing into the price spectrum of hot horology products. Longines is no stranger to the 7751 movement family, having featured these movements in various Master Collection timepieces for years now. The success of combining the Master Collection timepiece aesthetic with the features in the 7751 movement is proven. This particular model comes in with an elegantly decorated movement and a very sensible 40mm wide case, which is about as small as you can get given the size of the movement itself. At 40mm wide, this is the smallest Master Collection watch I've worn that contains a 7751-based movement inside of it. The challenge with a 40mm wide case is that it must look proportional given the relatively high, nearly 14mm thick case, which is made necessary by the movement. This is less of an issue with a wider 42mm wide or larger case. What Longines does in order to visually reduce mass is to highly round both the polished steel bezel as well as the case back. To the eyes, this technique results in a case that appears less thick than it actually is. In conclusion, the Longines Master Collection Chronograph is a distinguished and well-crafted timepiece. Whether you're a collector seeking an elegant and functional chronograph or an enthusiast in search of a versatile and reliable watch, the Master Collection Chronograph offers a compelling blend of aesthetics, functionality, and craftsmanship. It's sometimes easy to forget that Longines is one of 5 watch brands that sell north of $1 billion in watches at retail per year. When you consider the comparatively higher prices of the average watch sold by the other 4, the average $2,000 price of a Longines translates to a lot of watches sold. It's not a stretch to infer that Longines knows how to sell accessibly priced luxury watches more than almost anybody else out there. The Longines Flagship collection was introduced in 1957, and this contemporary flagship heritage carries a lot of visual cues and design choices from a few vintage models, while making the necessary adjustments for contemporary tastes and preferences. Case size is increased, but I think at 38.5mm wide and 10.25mm thick with a 46mm lug-to-lug, it hits the Goldilocks, just right size for a modern dress watch. I'm a fan of the long lugs that give the case a little bit more wrist presence, and the subtle chamfering is a nice touch. You can see it looks perfectly fine on a 7.5-inch wrist, much more so than many watches with similar case width but shorter lugs would. Much of the appeal of the demure flagship heritage lies in the tastefully designed and well-finished dial. With its applied indices, handsome dauphin hands, and 6 o'clock date window, the flagship heritage strikes a fine balance of having a classic look that isn't old-fashioned, having touches like a thin strip of loom on the hour and minute hands, or having several layers of AR coating on the underside of the crystal make for small but significant improvements to the wearability of the flagship heritage. Glare is really not much of an issue here, which impressed me, as we're talking about highly polished hands and indices here. Longines recognized that having a mismatching date window would potentially ruin the dial, so I'm glad they went for a black background. The hands are pink gold-plated and work perfectly when it comes to legibility and ease of reading. In conclusion, the Longines Flagship Heritage Collection is a testament to the brand's commitment to its rich history and classic design. The thing that immediately stands out upon first laying eyes upon the Longines Legend Diver in person is just how striking it is. Despite its mid-century origins and retro styling, this is not a subtle timepiece, not by a long shot. Its case is on the larger side with lugs that go on for days, and it's fully polished so it really sparkles. Combine the striking case with the also polished stainless steel mesh bracelet, vintage-inspired black dial, and tall box crystal, and you've got one serious head turner in the metal. As we mentioned, the case of the Legend Diver is entirely polished, so if you're into contrasting finishing surfaces, you won't find what you're looking for here. However, if you appreciate the beauty and simplicity, then you'll be very pleased with this diver's case. It has a thin bezel, a relatively thin profile, and gorgeous long, curved lugs. Speaking of the lugs, they're probably a bit too long. Longines has a bit of a reputation for putting long lugs on its modern sports watch cases, and that's certainly true here, with the lugs adding a full 10mm of length to the not exactly small 42mm case size. This makes the watch a bit overpowering for smaller wrists, but thankfully, Longines does offer a 36mm version of the watch, so it's kind of a moot point. Otherwise, we really love the case design, as the twin cross-hatched crowns add a nice touch, and the scuba diver motif on the case back is another fun, vintage nod. There is a lot of debate in the watch community over whether or not Longines exclusive ETA-based movements should count as in-house calibers. After all, both Longines and ETA are members of the Swatch Group, and the companies work hand-in-hand when developing exclusive movements. Regardless of which side of the debate you fall on, the L888 caliber inside the Legend Diver is not one of Longines' more prestigious movements. It's a modified ETA 2892 tuned down to 25,200 beats per hour in order to achieve a power reserve of 72 hours. In conclusion, the Longines Legend Diver is a faithful tribute to the brand's heritage in dive watches, capturing the classic aesthetics of the original while offering modern functionality and reliability. Every once in a while, a watch comes along that's bold and unique enough to make a powerful first impression. The Longines Spirit Zulu Time collection is one of those watches. This is part of Zulu's larger Spirit line of watches, which rank among the most popular, reliable GMT watches on today's market. The Longines Spirit Zulu comes in 3 different color schemes. There's a matte black, a forest green, and a deep metallic blue. Other than the color, all 3 are identical. The outer index is a narrow band around the perimeter of the dial. It has a thin silver band on the outside, with a fatter band on the inside. The individual minute hashes are tiny, while the 5-minute hashes are a bit longer, extending almost all the way to the inner silver band. For emphasis, this band has little gold diamond shapes embedded at the 5-minute marks. The effect is both subtle and visually striking, and it's one of the more unique features of this particular watch. The Spirit Zulu gets its name from Longines' first dual time zone watch, which was manufactured in 1925. This watch had the Zulu flag on its dial, which was in turn a reference to the letter Z, which is called Zulu in international radio communications. Inside of the fatter silver band, there's a set of Arabic numerals. These numerals are big and chunky, and visibly pop out of the dial. The surfaces are painted with a superluminova finish, so you get plenty of low-light visibility. The exception to this is the 6 o'clock position, where there's a date window in place of a numeral. This window has no border, and has white Arabic numerals with a background that matches the dial. The rest of the dial is plain, with no subdials or other complications. In the top portion, you'll see the words Longines Automatic printed in gold with an applied silver Longines Eagle emblem. The bottom half says Zulu Time Chronometer in similar type, with 5 applied silver stars. The Conquest comes in your choice of a black, silver, or blue dial on a bracelet with a list price of $1,250. It's 11.7mm thick and has a sapphire crystal with internal anti-reflective treatment, and a screw-down crown and caseback. In a Longines sense, this is the brand's OP. But get this, it's water-resistant to 300 meters. The aesthetic is reserved, but with larger loomed markers and a large handset. It has the legible dial of a dive watch that is surrounded by a smoothly polished, sterile bezel. Weirdly, only the black dial version appears to have loomed hands, which is kind of a head-scratcher. There is a date at 3 and minimal dial text in support of an inoffensively subtle take on a daily wear sports watch. The movement is a late-generation Longines L888, an automatic movement that ticks at 3.5 AT with a power reserve of around 72 hours. That's a pretty solid power reserve for a watch at this price point, and not only is it enough so that the Conquest will be ready for Monday, even if you take it off for the weekend, but the whole watch is also backed by Longines 5-year warranty. For $1,250 with the bracelet, I think this entry point to Longines gets you a whole lot of watch, and the 39mm sizing should suit a wide range of wrists, not to mention 41 and 43mm. The appeal continues. Longines focus on elegance with a quiet design that adds some sportiness with crown guards, the remarkable water resistance, and the steel bracelet. It's a flexible, good-looking, and nicely sized watch that isn't too much for the office or too little for a weekend in the wild, and it offers a different take on the form than what we might expect from a similarly priced Hamilton or Seiko. If you guys like this video or this video helped you, please give the video a like. Links to all the products mentioned are in the description below. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, I will see you guys later.